Welcome to Beach Life Unlocked, Episode 3. My colleague Michael Dotson, myself, Mitchell David. Today we're going to kind of do like a month in review. So it's February 6th right now, and we're going to kind of discuss our thoughts on the past January for the market, maybe some rental talk that we did a vlog earlier about. So what's your thoughts?
Well, I think January was interesting. Definitely interesting month. We got more snow than we definitely expected, but I feel like things are picking up. I feel like some buyers are coming back to the market. That maybe were sitting on the sidelines for a while. We're out of the holiday season. Things are getting back to normal, if you will. Still cold outside, but I think there's some optimism in the air, and I'm looking forward to a good 2025, honestly.
Yeah,
how about you? Seeing the same?
I would agree. I think the election, for whatever that's worth, I think that being over and past us, I think that has given people, some type of ease to kind of plan for the future on what they expect that to look like. So for sure, I'm definitely optimistic. I mean, we talk about the website all the time that we have, and we have all kinds of analytics so we can kind of gauge how much activity we receive on it, and there's definitely been an uptick for sure in the month of January. You've been out showing all the time.
Yeah, I mean almost daily now, so which is great. It hasn't translated for me into contracts, but that's okay. That's part of the process.
That's real estate in a nutshell,
real
right?
estate,
You're right. It's we each go through seasons.
Yeah, so you got to find. It's all about finding the right property, what makes sense for the buyer. And I'm in no rush.
Right.
I'd never try to rush anybody, force anybody into anything. So, I'm more than happy to go out all day, every day, and show until it makes sense for them.
Well, I think Mike's been a bit humble. I think what he's not telling you is like today after this, he'll be out doing a personal tour for somebody who can't make it down here. So again, I think we've discussed this. It's just not us meeting the client. We don't make them drive 3 hours or 4 hours if they potentially see something they like. We're here. And again, we talk about hyper local. We're not just out local. This is what we focus on. I mean, really, a 35-mile radius is kind of really our intense area of help, right? All the way from Rehoboth out to Salisbury, definitely Ocean City, Ocean Pines, Willards. I mean, those are our areas.
Yes, we're here every day.
Right.
I live here, so this is what I focus on. This is, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I saw this property, what do you think? If I don't know much about it, honestly, I'll go out, I'll get eyes on target. What's it look like? What a condition it's in. And I'll give my honest opinion. Especially if I know the person, I've done showings for them before with them. I know what they're looking for. I feel like I'm a pretty good judge for people, and I think this makes sense for you. I don't think it will make sense for you. Whatever it is.
That's just getting to know your client, right? Yeah. Again, it goes back to the exclusive agency agreement that we discussed the other day. And the other thing is, and I'm sure Mike gets the same question I've been getting a lot. Are we in a buyer's market or are we in a seller's market? Kind of where are we in this cycle? And what I'm telling everybody is, we're really in neither. We're really in a property-specific market. Yeah. And I don't know if people understand exactly what a property-specific market is, so maybe we should kind of like help them out to understand. What's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so I think, especially with Ocean City, there's many different types of properties, right? You have plenty of condos, but they're in, there's high rises, there's low rises, there's single family on the bay side, there's condos on the bay side, ocean front, ocean block. Yeah. So people that are looking tend to have a pretty good idea, for the most part, what they want. Right? It varies. People that I want to be oceanfront. I want to wake up to the ocean. Right? So that's going to narrow our search down to those specific properties. Now, do you want to be in a high rise, a low rise? That's going to narrow down the search even more. And so, I think for a lot of people, there's plenty of options, various options. But I think for most people, it's I want this, this, and this, and if it doesn't have it, I don't want to see it. Right. And so, that I think that was more towards your property specific, what you're talking about there. what do you think?
Right. No. So, and I agree with Mike. I mean, that's the thing is helping your client kind of narrow down where they are in their search. And so, in this past month, I mean, just last weekend, I was at an open house with a client, and it was in Montego Bay, a nicely redone property, beautiful, incredible bay view facing south. It was an open house. There must have been 30 people in there at this open house. Come to find out, I had to reach out to the agent. My clients had some interest, but probably was not going to be the one for them, but they wanted me to inquire about how much activity. The agent had 8 offers. eight offers on the first weekend active.
Right, and we haven't seen that since 2020.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Again, I did the one down on the boardwalk. It was a coming soon property, multiple offers. I was lucky, my clients, we won that multiple offer situation, but the same thing, it's, we're starting to get back into the multiple offers, but then we have properties that have been sitting for 120 days. So again, if somebody says, well, because obviously we want to get our listing clients as much money as possible, right? And we want to get our buyers clients as
the best deal
possible. And so trying to help everybody understand that is kind of where we are now, I think.
Yeah, and I think once a property comes up like the one you're talking about in Montego Bay, that doesn't come up very often. And so when people are out there looking for something like that, when it does come along, there's going to be a lot of competition on it. But like you said, there's properties that have been sitting for 120 days that don't get any showings. Right. Because there may be similar properties all up and down, the 10 miles of Ocean City. So not a whole lot of competition on some areas, where there's other areas there's endless competition.
Right. And one of my buyers asked the other day, kind of, are more properties coming on? And again, I can't speak for other agents, but obviously Mike and I have held off some listings due to the weather, just simply because of getting people down here. We don't like the properties with days on market, right? Because people judge properties with days on market. So I have, again, we're numbers people. We're not going to get into specific numbers. You can go to our website under market statistics, and there's a great graphs in there. There's all kinds of cool tools that you can kind of, really hone in on certain numbers. But again, listings are up for the most part compared to last year, especially compared to the year before that. So there is more properties coming available on the market for buyers as we're moving forward in 2025.
Yeah, right now I think we're at about 4 months of inventory, which we haven't seen 4 months of inventory. I think since I've been in real estate since 2020, I don't think I've seen 4 months of inventory since then, honestly. I think this is the most inventory we've had at any one time in the last 5 years.
Right, and what Mike's talking about, this is a super important number that we kind of keep an eye on, is if no other listings were available and when they stopped right now, how long would it take to sell out of all the properties that we have at the beach? And it's 4 months. The saturation level is 4 months right now. So those are good indicators. He's correct. It's not been this high in quite some time. I mean, we were down to what, like a month.
It was like 0.6 or something. I saw at one point.
Crazy numbers as we were going through them before. And again, why is this important? And obviously, when we construct a deal for a client, if we're at saturation level or inventory of 0.6, then obviously there's going to be a whole bunch of competition.
Be a little more aggressive with your offer.
Exactly, right. But once we start to get into this 4, 5, 6, 8 months worth of inventory out there, then we're able to.
There may be some space for negotiation. Make a deal that's good for both sides. I mean, honestly, you don't want anybody to lose in a negotiation unless it's the seller and I'm representing the buyer. Right. So I think there's opportunities there. Obviously, right now I think there's opportunity for buyers who, like I said before, that have been on the sidelines, been waiting for things to change. I think the opportunity is now for those buyers. They didn't want to get in multiple offer situations. I've had several buyers. I don't want to get in on multiple offer. I don't want to, be in competition. Now's the time to buy.
Right. Well, and everybody says to us, when's the best time to buy at the beach? And that's a trick question, right? I mean, I don't know if Mike and I have the same definition of when the best time to buy. I'll share mine and Mike can share his. I'm under the philosophy of the best time to buy a property is when you find the property that checks either all the boxes or most of your boxes for the price point that you want and the time framing you want. So that's the best time. To try to shop a deal, that's a bit more difficult. I don't know kind of what's your thoughts about when the best time to buy a property is?
I think I agree somewhat with you, but I always tell people the best time to buy is when you're ready.
Right.
But honestly, are buyers ever ready?
No.
I mean, I'm dealing with some buyers right now that they want to buy. We're buying now, no matter what. And then, we kind of got close at one point to getting them a place, and they were like, I'm not so sure now. So I think it's when the best time to buy is when you find the place that you can't live without.
Right.
Kind of similar to you, but. As of this taping right now, I think the best time to buy is now.
Right, well, right. Because if the interest rates do start to come down, and again, this is anecdotal for us. I can't speak for other agents. We're pretty much busy year round every year, right? I mean, we had a really good 2024. Obviously, we wish we had a better year, but we did delve into some Airbnb and VRB help with some past clients to kind of get to know that market, so we could answer some questions directly. So we kind of didn't put the gas full throttle on sales last year as we had in the past, and good number still with about 40 sales of properties, but we took the education route more. We put that front last year with the Airbnbs, I think, because
and I think that's actually going to pay off, especially with what's going on with the R1 and MH district right now with the moratorium on rentals. Understanding that market, what that looks like, where kind of helping people find where the best place to be as far as rentals go.
Correct.
What makes the most sense. So I think 2025 we'll be able to help guide our buyers that are investors or looking to offset some costs better than maybe we had in the past because of what we did in 2024, getting into the rentals in Airbnb, VRBO, what that looks like, how that works. I think puts us in a better position to help going forward.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I think as an agent, we're always learning, right? We don't know everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we strive to be out front and figure things out to be able to help guide our clients. So sometimes you have to take a loss to make a gain, if that makes sense. And I think, like Mike and I said before, we don't ever pressure our clients to buy. Mike just said, the best times to buy when you're ready, but also. Part of that is them understanding what the market's going to yield for them if they decide to do a rental, right?
Is it going to make sense going forward? I mean, what may be on the horizon that they're not aware of? We like you said, we try to keep ahead of the game. Right now with the R1 MH districts in Ocean City and the moratorium on rentals going forward for new licenses. That's definitely something to keep in mind. And people may not be aware that aren't here on a daily basis like we are.
If you do currently have a license from the previous year, you can renew that, but then you're going to be limited on how many nights you can rent the property for.
Right, 5 nights.
Right.
What do you think about that as far as limiting to 5-night minimum?
Again, I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice. I will tell you my personal opinion. I think there should be some parameters within how people rent property. I do think that, especially in the R1, see, property rights is difficult. I own real estate myself. I own single family homes. So it's, I look at it from both sides, and I can understand, the owners who are complaining who live here full time. But I think 5 nights is too restrictive. I mean,
I understand not wanting to have nightlies. Because then you just have a constant turnover of people, and it's just, especially in the R1, which is predominantly single-family homes, and the mobile home districts, I can understand trying to restrict the number of nights, but 5 seems a little too restrictive. I think 3 or maybe 2 might make more sense. I understand not wanting nightlies. not only does nightly rentals, especially in condos, sometimes reduce the value of the property because then it becomes non-warrantable, which is a whole other, that gets into a whole other thing where lending's not available.
Right, correct. Which is super problematic.
Yeah.
Which we don't want to go down just yet. Right. That's a whole nother
video.
Right. So I'm with Mike. I mean, actually, I'll say this: in a perfect world, what I think should happen is if you currently own a property in town of Ocean City, you should be grandfathered. You bought under a set of rules, and you should be able to operate under those set of rules. I understand moving forward that if something were to change, I get it. Or if you were to sell, the new owners would then have to do it. I think that's going to hurt prices and sales.
Yeah.
But I'm also with Mike. I think you can't do, if somebody buys a property, to restrict them to 5 minimum nights, and I understand that there's other towns and other cities that are doing this similarly because of the Airbnb exposure and the VRBO. I get it. I understand. We're not the only town that has this. But I'm a huge property rights person.
Right.
I think if you spend the money to own a property in a town, you should be able to use it any way you want to, obviously within the rules.
Yeah.
So I would be fine seeing, I'm almost fine with 2-night minimum.
Okay.
I know that's, because here's the thing. They're not trying to restrict rentals. What are they trying to restrict? Behaviors. It's the behavior that's the issue for people. It's not the rental. So I think if town's going about it, in my opinion, the wrong way. I think they're trying to fix a problem by making it not rental,
just eliminating the possibility of there being a problem.
Correct, but if there's a rental now, they can have that problem.
Right. Which I think you're trying to do with the 5-night minimum, but that's just 5 nights of people partying.
Of a mess,
right? And so I think one of the things I heard from the council meeting was a property owner complained about trash piling up. Well, okay, if 1 night of trash is too much, what's 5 nights of trash look like?
I think, now let's be fair, none of this has been completely, they've had some votes, they've had some discussion, there's still more discussion and more votes.
Right now, until December 31st, this is kind of the parameters that we're working under.
Right, but they still haven't passed the current ordinances yet. There's still going to be more discussion. So we're not exactly sure how this is all going to end up, but so we're having a conversation on what the framework looks like now. Yeah. And so, again, to take that away, I think it's an overreach to have the moratorium.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you want to change the nights and the rentals, well, we can have that argument all day. Because you're still allowing the owner to rent.
To use their property.
Right. But the moratorium, the emergency moratorium, to me definitely seems to be an overreach. Yeah. I think across the board, again, for the people that we spoke to, I think everybody's in agreement to the moratorium being an issue.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue with me, because telling somebody how and when they can use their property, not a fan. You know what I mean? Not a fan of that.
Right. I mean, if I were a single family owner and I had a property right now, then I would not advise you to sell your property right now, because we don't know what the landscape of sales is going to look like.
Yeah. I mean, right now it could cause. You may not be able to sell your property because there's really a lot of unknown in town right now about where that's going to go, what's going to be the final decision. Will we ever be able to rent these properties?
That's correct.
You know what I mean? Going forward, and if the answer is no, we don't have a whole lot of residents here that live year round.
No.
So the majority of the houses here are second homes, investment properties where people invested their money hoping to get a return by renting.
Yeah, or at least an offset.
Or an offset.
Right. So, because, to make money is one thing, but to not be able to offset your property taxes or your maintenance on a property, I mean, and understand that you're buying the property not trying to make it a business. And I think that's what upset me listening to the council was, people are doing this as a business. Some are.
Yeah, people need to be calling the town, call the mayor, call the city council, let them know how you feel. That you don't want to see your property values go down because they put this very restrictive moratorium in place.
Right, because to be honest, if I'm with a buyer and a buyer is looking for either potentially Montego Bay or Little Salisbury or Cane Woods or down off of 14th Street in that area as well, and those are the R1 district areas, it's our job to inform them that, hey, listen, that's great that you want to buy this property here, but you need to understand moving forward, you're not going to be able to rent this out. Excuse me, I can't do what? You won't be able to offset anything. This is going to be
on you.
It's going to be on you.
Yeah.
Everything. And so, obviously, and I had it yesterday as we discussed, I had pushback. And again, in a good way, we had the conversation. I explained to my client, who's a client, because we did the exclusive agency agreement. So it's, my job to make sure I inform them. Even in a customer situation, we would still want to inform somebody.
Let people know.
Let people know. But, she would be here the majority of time, but there's 2 months out of the year, which is July and August, where her job takes her out of the area.
Which are the prime rental months, right?
That she's now not going to be able to use her property to be able to offset that, and for her, it's a non-starter.
Yeah.
And so that
just wouldn't work.
It just wouldn't work. So I think, as the properties come up in the single-family neighborhoods, there's going to be increased inventory.
Yeah.
Right. Less shoppers, and what is that going to do to the market? I mean, that's a simple numbers, right?
It's not
a lot of property, less buyers, value has to come down because there's always a buyer for something.
Yeah.
What we always say is a property's worth what a seller's going to sell it for and a buyer's going to buy it for. And I can promise you, in that situation, we're going to start seeing lower numbers for that. I don't know if it's going to push people into condos or townhouses. Some people might just stop their search completely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because they only want a single-family home.
That's correct.
And they can't get that. Okay, well then we go elsewhere.
Yep, exactly.
Right. So it's going to push people out of Ocean City entirely. This won't even be an option for them, which it should be an option for everyone.
Well, and here's the thing, though. What I think what the short side is of the council with the moratorium is now all of a sudden you are changing the market for your constituents, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, drastically. Where again, this is our opinion. This is what we foresee happening if the way the rules are written now stay in effect until December with the moratorium. I mean, that's 12 months worth of limited buyers buying who can't buy directly. So we have to be careful buyers and sellers, you have to be informed through your agent on what's going on. If you're unable to be here, we're your best resources on that kind of information.
Yeah. We're your eyes and ears, and we're going to stay on top of this, because we are hoping for some changes. I don't know when the next reading is.
It should be, so the last council meeting was last Monday,
Third.
So it will be 2 Mondays from now.
Okay.
will be the next meeting. And obviously you can go to the Town of Ocean City's website. They actually have a link, which is awesome. You can watch the video, you can look at the agenda, and that's all there readily available on their site. In addition to that, there's the numbers to the council members and to the mayor that you can reach out to and express your concern. And if I were a property owner in Ocean City, for or against it, I would definitely be reaching out to them to let them know how I felt.
Yeah, because if I owned I don't own in the R1 or mobile home district, but if I did, you best believe I'd be on the phone just about every day, making it very clear that these people are potentially sinking the value of my property. And if I bought recently, I may not get a return. That's my concern for buyers that have purchased in the last, let's say 3 or 4 years, that now, maybe they didn't rent in the past. We're thinking about doing that to offset some of their costs. Now they don't have that option. Now what?
Correct.
Now do I sell? And if I sell, am I going to get back what I paid for it? But right now, I don't know the answer to that.
No, I don't think anybody does. I think that's to me the scary part for people. Let's assume you bought a few months ago back in December, right?
And you're planning you're going to do.
You were going to rent the property, you were going to do, but you just didn't have time to get the rental application out because of holidays and the season and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden the council makes this. I mean, we know that there was going to be some restrictions coming out of the rental licensing. Didn't know when. A certain level of expectation that you should be able to live within with the parameters without somebody drastically changing the landscape of what you've been operating under, right?
Right. If you purchase with the plan to rent, and now that's not an option because, as you know, our rental season or rental licensing starts May 1st.
Right.
So it runs through April 30th. And so people may not have gotten their 2025 license yet.
Because there was no rush to get it yet.
Right, and if they didn't, well, now they can't.
They can't.
So I do feel bad for those people, and hopefully we can get some common sense at City Hall and reverse this at some point where, those owners do have some options.
Yeah, at least the moratorium.
Yeah, at least lift that, let people be able to rent, whether there's a, nightly restriction or whatever it is on it, at least have the option to rent if they choose to do so.
Right. I think, I know they're doing some stuff with the 3 strikes and different items, but to me, if you're trying to curb a behavior, then that's really what you should be focusing on is the behavior. And I'm sure, I know for a fact that we have noise ordinances in town.
Well, every license comes with one. You have to pay $25 extra for that.
Exactly. So, why not make the property, and the owners and the management companies for that property be responsible for the activity that goes on. So, you could have a habitual offender where I'm going to use a random number, 6 calls or 6 citations or 5, whatever the number is, and say, hey, listen, when you get to that threshold, you then lose your license because obviously you're an owner who does not care about our area, right?
Yeah.
Or a management company that's not invested in the area. And I think, to me, that would definitely curb behaviors, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And here's the great part about it is the city council not overstepping. Right, they're saying, "Hey, as we're
giving the opportunity here.
You want to rent it. We're all adults here. Here's your box that you have to work within. You do a good job. Don't have the complaints.
Continue on renting.
Exactly. You can have a driver's license, right? But if you decide to speed, DUIs, what do they get to do?
You take it away.
They take it away. And I think that's what's missing in the housing portion of this for me is why do we go to the extreme of, hey, that's it, you lose your right to do anything with your property. Exactly. Let's address the issue that needs to be addressed, because I didn't hear anybody say we hate rentals. You know why they're not going to say that? Because then they lose the argument.
Right away. We're a rental market. I mean, this is a second home. People come here to enjoy their vacations, spend time with their families.
Yeah.
And that's what we want for Ocean City. We want people to come here and have a good time. Now, I don't want people acting a fool, throwing trash in the streets. We don't want that. We want to keep Ocean City beautiful. But to tell somebody that because that's happened in the past, essentially you can't rent it.
Yeah, or worse, is, hey, by the way, you're doing a great job, but Jimmy up off of in Cane Woods has a really bad rental, so we're going to restrict you now because he can't get his stuff under control.
Right.
And again, this is where the approach is so big how they're going about doing it. I just think it's the incorrect way of doing it. I think there's other ways, but I'm not on the city council. I don't live in town limits, so I don't have the right to vote for that, or I can express my thoughts, but again, I'm not a constituent to hear, so
But those that are need to make their voices heard. I mean, I think it's important to get your thoughts out there to your council member, to the mayor. Let them know that you think this is wrong. There's definitely better ways to go about this. I don't have all the answers, but I know putting a moratorium in place and telling people they can't rent if they haven't in the past, that's just not the way to do it.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair to everybody, and this is Mike and I's opinion on a whole bunch of topics that we're going to talk about. That's why it's called BeachLife UnLocked, because we're not just going to talk about real estate in general. We'll be talking about all kinds of things. But Airbnb owners, let's be honest, I think Airbnb and VRBO have brought this on to themselves a little bit too, because I think it was a slow roll when people started doing this, and now we'll get the phone calls of, hey, I want to rent this property nightly, and I'm like, I mean, you're going to look. The Rivendell, for example, has gone to what? Non-rental building.
Yeah, non-rental.
It's a non-rental building.
Long term is the only way you can rent.
Right, but that took a passage of 66% of the ownership. That's what they decided to do, but what's happening is that I'm all for you making money. I'm all for you for renting property, but I do think that we talked about it. If a building has nightlies, lending sometimes, depending on the lender, will consider that a condotel, like Coconut Mallory or those other properties where all of a sudden you become non-warrantable, right? The key is, I'm not against Airbnb and VRBO. Matter of fact, we do that for our clients. I just think that what happened with it, it made it easier for people to have the rentals, to do nightlies.
Well, I think this goes back to an education thing. I don't think owners that are using Airbnb and VRBO on their own, self-managing their properties, I don't think they knew that by doing nightlies, it could create problems, right? I don't think they ever thought about, could this cause a problem, right? Because nobody really ever knew. I mean, we know as agents that, if a building has too many units that are nightlies, you can go online and book like a hotel. Eventually, it's going to get deemed a condo hotel, and it's going to be non-warrantable. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are not going to, back any loans on them, and so which kind of pushes people to local lending, which is great, for our economy, obviously. And it's really not that big of a difference rate-wise, but it does create problems and potentially down the line, lower property values.
Yeah, a non-warrantable building definitely does tend to, and Marigold Beach is a great example, right? Yeah. I mean, Marigold Beach, I think, was held back because it was non-warrantable. Now it's changed hands, and they're working their way out. You can see the gradual increase of price. So, yeah, non-warrantable. So again, as you watch this, the key really is to understand the market and how certain things affect each other. That's kind of what Mike and I really do pride ourselves on, is making sure that you all have that information. Moving forward, we're in February. Things are starting to move, and the historical way the market worked here at the beach pre-COVID, I hate to say that, to bring COVID up at all, to be honest, I don't. But pre-COVID, I mean, we were pretty much easy. It was, spring we were busy, summer we would slow down, fall we were busy, winter we'd slow down. And what I'm saying is, obviously we've been, 3 years, 4 years of it just being busy year round. We're starting to get back into that cyclical change right now again, where, we're doing a lot of showings. Both of us are doing tons of showings, getting properties prepped, or our clients understanding the market. And then, obviously we're starting to write more now.
Right.
And I think as we move into this, I think we're starting to get back into that Ocean City cyclical time frame as well. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, it started to pick back up. This time, mid-February, mid to late February, usually is, I think is usually the time things start picking back up. People making plans to be at the beach for the summer. And a lot of those plans revolve around renting. And so I think, with this happening now with the town, I think it's probably actually a good time for it to happen, because now as buyers come back to the market, we have more information to share for them to make better decisions, better buying decisions going forward. So
to help educate them, right?
I mean, if it's going to happen, the best time to happen is now,
right?
Because we are coming out of a slow winter, coming in, getting into spring now, and things are going to start ramping up.
Yeah, so I'm excited about 2025. I think it's going to be a good year in general. I think there's going to be more inventory for buyers. I think sellers who have taken care of their property, they have a nice product to sell, I think are going to be rewarded for that. I think we're seeing that, buyers don't want to get into a total gut. I mean, don't get me wrong. Of course, there's the ones who want to do, but for the vast majority of our buyers, do they want to deal with that?
A turnkey, walk in, drop their bags, and stare at the ocean.
Right. So if you're getting ready to list your property, or you're thinking about it, I mean, obviously you want to make sure that it's in good shape. Buyers are coming. We have tons of buyers. So I'm excited about 2025. I think what we saw back in December happening, it came to fruition in January, and I think we're going to keep rolling through 2025.
Yeah, I'm optimistic for sure, for buyers and sellers. I mean, like you said, there's more inventory coming on the market, more opportunities for buyers than we've seen in the past. So I think 2025 is going to be a good year.
Yeah, I agree.
Some optimism on the horizon.
I agree. Mike and I would love to work with you. Feel free to tune into our channel and watch us on a regular basis. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out, or you can visit our website.
BeachLifeOceanCity.com.
Thank you very much.